Hey, Todd.
All
Adam.
all right, maybe we'll go ahead and get rolling.
Lummi.
We've got a handful of folks on the line here. I'm assuming a few more are probably going to trickle in. I think we're all a little rusty. It's the first community chat of the new year, and we did take a few weeks off, so we're getting back into the swing of things. I'm Eli Beckman. I'm the mayor. We've also got town manager Todd Cusimano, assistant town manager Rebecca Vaughn. We got the planning director Adam Wolf. We've got our public works director RJ Suko. We got Mike Moriarty, our code enforcement officer. I think that's the staff we've got with us right now. Hey, Mike. And so we'll just kind of open up with a brief summary of updates. It's been a while, right? It's been through the holiday season. Lord knows 2021 is off to a crazy start. So we're kind of hitting the ground running here. With town, I think the kind of big things we're going to want to talk about are the COVID situation as it stands now. I'm going to leave the details on that one to the pro, but I will just say that ICU capacity is really low throughout the Bay Area. I know I don't have to tell you guys this, but it's so critical that we continue to stay on wearing our masks, social distancing, being smart, being responsible. I think with the vaccine, on the horizon, rollout on the horizon, it feels like the end is in sight, and we just got to hang out, be strong for a little while longer, and hopefully we're, gonna sort of make it over that hump pretty soon. The other big thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm sure that the staff are gonna mention this too, is the climate adaptation plan. This is basically Corte Madera's giant blueprint to how are we going to address the challenges of climate change as it's going to affect our community in the coming decades. That's wildfire, flooding, all of these issues that have frankly been long-standing issues. They're already, they're historically problems in Corte Madera, and they're only going to get worse as climate change continues. We've got sea level rise on the east side, and we've got worsening fire hazard on the west side. Everybody's been watching what's been happening fire season after fire season. It just gets worse and worse. So we're already very much seeing the effects. Frankly, climate change is upon us. Corte Madera is being really proactive, and I'm really proud of the work that our staff has done in conjunction with our consultants and in conjunction with the community over the last 18 months, going through this long public process to start to really develop and shape our climate adaptation plan. The plan is basically like a menu that lays out a bunch of potential projects, ideas essentially for what your town councils could address: flooding, wildfire, those sorts of issues. We're wrapping up kind of towards the end of the public process of developing this plan right now. We've gone through, like I said, 18 months. It's been, I think, 4 public workshops, 1 or 2 public hearings. We did a survey. We've had a townwide mailer. We've got a few more opportunities for public engagement coming up. There's going to be a workshop on February 3rd at 4:30, I believe, that is for kind of flooding and more like east side issues. And then there's going to be a workshop on February 4th for wildfire and sort of WUI issues. And that's going to be at 7. And then in March, we're going to have another public hearing before the town council. And that's when this plan is going to come up for potential adoption. So we're kind of moving into the final phase of this community process to shape the plan, but there's still several really good opportunities for public engagement right now. If you haven't gotten a chance to take a look at the climate adaptation plan yet, I highly recommend that you do. It's on the town's website. You can read the full draft plan, and you can actually go through and leave commentary. We hope that everybody's going to be able to participate in these upcoming workshops, but we're also still collecting comments through the website. So again, just highly urge folks to take a look at this plan, page through it. There's a lot in there. It's intense, it's technical, it's complicated, but it's really important, and it's laying the groundwork for a lot of the really important discussions that we're going to have going forward about how do we protect Corte Madera. So with that, I think I've gone on long enough. I'll turn it over to staff for any updates that you guys have before we open it up to the public for questions.
Well said, boss, as always. I'll just keep mine short and really see where our residents community members want to take the conversation. But the county health official, Dr. Willis, did give an update to the Marin managers last Thursday. And as of that day, there were approximately 8,000 vaccinations that had been given out. And they're estimating approximately 500 a day, recognizing that as a slow pace, but they're starting to position themselves countywide to really start to distribute this vaccine. And so, our fingers are crossed for the next 30 days of really ramping that up. And then, as you said, we have a lot of things moving forward within the town. And, we have some financial updates coming up. And if we want to talk about it later on today, if it comes up, we're prepared to share some drafts, kind of big picture discussions on the town's infrastructure over the next 15 years, especially when you talk about the cap and how is that going to be funded, and how are we trying to position ourselves as a town. But with that, I'll leave it there, and if staff members have any other updates. It's all yours.
Adam.
Sure, I just have a quick one for those of you interested in seeing the conceptual designs for a proposed new hotel at the Corte Madera Inn Best Western. You can join another Zoom call later this evening at 7 p.m. The Planning Commission is going to be listening to what we call a study session or a workshop, really just to get early feedback. We don't have an application submitted yet, but we have found this very successful, where the applicant comes and pretty much really just talks about conceptually what they're thinking of doing at the site. They have gone ahead though and they've engaged their architect to look at potential designs. This is a follow-up to an October meeting where they talked about their initial site planning and keeping the pond and so on. So I know there was a tremendous amount of interest in the past. That process is now ramping up, and so please make sure to attend tonight if you're able to, as that you'll get some more information on that before actually entering into a sort of the next stage of the planning process. So that if you go to our planning commission, well, anybody can actually, you're welcome to email me and I can send you the email, the planning commission link for accessing that, or point you in the right direction. But it's on our planning commission webpage, and you can find out how to attend planning commission meetings there. So I'll leave it at that.
Great, thank you, Adam. Just want to point out we're also joined by our Fire Chief, Ruben Martin. Hey, Ruben. And any other updates from staff before we turn this over to the public? Yeah, Mike.
Just real briefly, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to let the community know that we are finishing up the final steps of onboarding 2 new part-time code enforcement officers. I'm really excited about the addition, and these 2 individuals, they're going to work part-time for us, but their interview process and their onboarding was a success, and I'm really excited about the contribution levels they're going to have to our community. The way they responded to our questions and the interactions we've had thus far are aligned with the vision of our town manager, and I know the council, and I think that you're really going to enjoy getting to know these 2 individuals as they come aboard. I really think that we're going to have a real concierge type service for the community, and I look forward to really crafting what code enforcement looks like for our town, and really take away some of the functions of the police department that will allow them to do their job and allow us to respond to the needs of our community. So I'm excited about that. I would imagine that within the next pay period or 2, you'll see an announcement from me with their faces and their backgrounds.
Fantastic, thank you. Awesome. Any other updates?
Just one quick update to tack on to some of the announcements about the climate adaptation plan. We were successful in getting an extension on adopting the plan, as Mayor Beckman alluded to, mentioning a possible date in March. Prior to a few days ago, that requirement was to be adopted by February 28th. So that's good news. More time to have some important conversations with the community. They will not reimburse us for efforts beyond the 28th, so we have to keep that in mind. But at the same time, we do have more time to have that conversation and adopt what we hope is a more thorough and comprehensive and thoughtful document.
Perfect, thank you. And Ruben, did you want to share anything?
Yeah, just kind of wanted to update everyone and let you guys know that we've been really busy since right around the Christmas holiday. All of your local firefighters and firefighter paramedics have been recruited to become vaccinators. So ever since then, we've been really busy trying to vaccinate all the first responders within the county. I want to say the majority of us have gotten at least the first round and are starting to go through the second round of vaccinations, which is fabulous and great news for everyone. Also, you may have noticed that with the hospital surge throughout the state, we're starting to now deploy firefighter paramedics and firefighter EMTs to different hospitals throughout the state of California within the region to be able to help out your hospital staff, because they're becoming overworked. You may have noticed on our recent Twitter feed, we just deployed one of our firefighter paramedics, Bobby Kraft, who's currently working at the Adventist Hospital in Kern County, which is out of Bakersfield. And he's currently on a 14-day deployment to be able to help out hospital staff wherever he can. So you know, your local firefighters are on the front line, and we're doing everything we possibly can to not only help the community members here locally, our first responders, but also throughout the state.
Fantastic. Glad to hear it. Thanks so much, Ruben. With that, I think we're ready to go ahead and open this up to the public for any questions or comments. It's been I think more than a month since we've done this, so we may have some you know a good amount of items to talk about built up. We're going to start with Jonna here. She's got her hand up.
Is that right? I hardly ever comment. I attend all of these sessions, but I don't feel compelled to weigh in on most things. I'm looking forward to the hearing tonight on the climate adaptation plan. I think it's a really impressive document, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it and to seeing the final product. It's really impressive. But I'm calling in about something far less significant. A lot of my friends and neighbors in Old Town have asked me, because they imagine that I still track every issue in town, which I do not now that I'm retired. But this is an issue probably for Adam. They want to know what's happening with the former Benissimos and with the new chain link fence in front of Lighthouse Cafe. It looks to me like the partial signage that's gone up on the Benissimo property indicates that the rumors that Burmatown's taking that over may be true. But I'm a little puzzled about the signage and the chain link fence on Lighthouse Cafe, and I have no idea how to wing a response to the people who've asked about it. So what can you tell us?
Yeah, well, there's a couple different things going on over there, and actually, some others here may want to chime in. But on the first sort of question regarding who's going to occupy the former Benissimo space, that is correct. We do have a building permit application from the Burmatown folks to renovate that space and turn it into a full, obviously a much larger restaurant, and obviously when things open back up, have much more indoor seating. Obviously this is a Corte Madera restaurant now, so I think it's great that they're moving down into to the square. And in a more prominent location. My understanding is that they're also intend to keep their existing space as well and use that more as a takeout location, and then have a more indoor restaurant there. Now, the second part of this is actually there was an incident where a vehicle did end up crashing into or having an accident and running into sort of that area of those buildings, causing some damage to the side of the buildings there. Actually, in between 8 and I believe it's 10 Tamalpais, the lighthouse, and right next to it. So there were some emergency repairs done over the last few days. And the fencing there is to just protect the public and keep the public sidewalk open, but away from some of the construction activities that need to be done on an emergency basis at that location. Additional work will need to be done by both of the contractors there in order to sort of repair some of the damage that was done by that vehicle. So that's sort of the planning and building side related to that, what's going on there. And you can tell people at least that that's what's happened. So two separate things, sort of unrelated to each other actually, but I could understand why people were sort of questioning what's going on.
Also know that the Central Marin Police Authority did identify the suspect, and hopefully this person has insurance to help with the payments, but they do know who committed this accident, and it's a crime really because they left the scene, and so charges are being filed with the district attorney's office. So hopefully we can support the restaurant in helping them get this thing corrected.
Good to have that information. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jonna. And one thing I'll just clarify for everyone, tonight's hearing at the Planning Commission is for the hotel, for the Best Western, and the Climate Adaptation Plan workshops are going to be on February 3rd and 4th. And the links to join those are on the town's webpage. We don't have any other hands up right now, guys. Come on, it's been weeks. I know you guys have got to have some questions, got to have something you want to talk about. There we go. Okay, we'll start with Peter, and then we'll go to Heinz. Oh, sweet. Now they all come in. Excellent. All right, Peter first, then Heinz.
Great. First, Happy New Year, everybody. Just a couple things, and I apologize if this has been covered before, but I know there's been the sidewalk project over by the village. I'm wondering if there's a sidewalk project slated for Tamalpais between the rec center and town center, because having just recently walked there to go to Rite Aid from my house, it's just a veritable maze of tripping hazards and not particularly safe. The other thing I wanted to bring up is I had a lovely encounter with the concrete bench in front of Cafe Verde by the bus stop. At night, it's kind of blends in with the color of the sidewalk, and I was walking with my son, chatting along, and smashed straight into it. So I'm wondering if Public Works could break out their white paint and just paint the ends of the bench so there's some contrast, so it doesn't pose a health to those of us who don't pay attention as much as we should walking on the sidewalk.
Peter, I'm sorry to hear about that. Sorry to hear you met the bench. These are RJ questions, so he can talk about the bench and our new sidewalk program.
Yeah, we can improve the contrast on the bench. And then, we don't have a formal project on Tamalpais in that stretch, but we can take a look at that and discuss it with BPAC about what's appropriate to remedy, what sounds like some tripping hazards.
Yeah,
then,
it's far from meeting even close to ADA from all the root infiltration and lifting up the sidewalk and the
right.
Attempts at grinding it down. It's just a veritable mess.
Yeah, so we just approved a sidewalk pilot program. Council did, I believe that was in October. And so there's grant funds available to fronting properties who are technically the responsible party. And so we can discuss whether we notice them, whether we take a more active role. There's several kind of strategies of how we go about improving our infrastructure, but definitely appreciate you bringing it to our attention, and we'll definitely discuss it internally with BPAC about, what makes sense.
And then just a quick other thing. I'm hoping with the study session tonight on the Corte Madera Inn that the previous comments from previous study sessions and planning commission meetings from several years ago get incorporated or come back to life, because there was a fair amount of effort that went into those meetings and public comment that I hate to get lost.
Yeah, Peter, in regards to that, I was just emailing you back on that, but since it's an entirely new project, I think it's appropriate to actually begin anew in terms of what comments are on this particular project. However, all of the previous information associated with the former project is on our website, including all of, we have we had a very robust web page connected to that project previously, which, as many of you know, was discontinued in 2017. But all of the prior information, as well as the comments on, for example, the environmental impact report, are all included there, and those were referenced in the staff report for tonight's meeting. But I don't think it's really appropriate to bring forward comments from 3 years ago, especially on a project that is just fundamentally different in what is being proposed. So I do encourage those who wish to bring new or even prior ideas or comments to repeat those in the upcoming process, including at tonight's meeting. They may be entirely different too, based on what you see tonight. So
yeah, no, that's great. I just wanted to make sure they were readily available, and it sounds like they are for the comments that are more site oriented as opposed to the actual building or project. So Thanks for that, Adam. Appreciate that. And that's the end of my comments, other than hopefully 2021 brings much brighter things for the town and the rest of us.
Amen to that. Thank you, Peter. The one thing I wanted to ask RJ, let me know if I'm misremembering, but I seem to recall that part of our sidewalk program also involved dividing the town up into, I think it was like 10 sectors or something, and then looking at, where sidewalk repairs were needed in each of these sectors. So I would assume that Tamalpais, various parts of it would fall into different sectors. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a tentative, what we're calling a zone map. So 10 zones within town. We'll formalize a final version through BPAC, I imagine. That particular strategy was not included in this fiscal year just because of timing and effort. So that'll be part of next fiscal year starting in July. But absolutely, that's one strategy within the overall sidewalk pilot program.
Awesome, got it. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. All right, we're going to go to Heinz and then Patty and then Cheryl.
Am I on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know you had said that you're going to redo Paradise Drive, repave it. When is that scheduled for?
That is going to be another RJ question.
Yeah.
Well, you had
And if
said
anyone-
2021, so I
Yeah,
assumed that there would be a fixed date or projected date at the very least.
right. Yeah, if anyone's wondering why I'm sitting on my couch, I'm here at home with a sick little guy, my son. But anyways, wanted to join you virtually. So, but yeah, we do have a project. We actually just received Caltrans authorization to proceed with bidding for construction for a sidewalk widening project, which is from on Paradise Drive from San Clemente to Seawolf. And then shortly following that, also this summer, we will pave that stretch of road. So that whole segment in front of Nugget by the end of our summer construction season will be completed.
Yeah, one more issue. I'm sorry.
Good.
One more issue. Right now, as we're going on Paradise Drive, and you're in the left lane, where you're merging into San Clemente Drive, there's no striping there anymore. And if you're in that left lane, you are very easily going into opposing traffic. And I've had a couple of times where I was coming home and somebody actually wandered into my lane. So I'm wondering if we could just do a little striping there. It seems that the people who did San Clemente just stopped at the very end where they paved, and they never really blended into Paradise Drive itself.
And is this a condition that's been like that for a while, or you just noticed it as part of construction this summer?
Yeah. I mean, it's a potentially dangerous situation.
Okay, we'll take a
I
look
mean,
at
as it is, that turn is a kind of a weird turn because you have to make a pretty sweeping right to go into it. On the right lane, it's not a problem. The left lane, it seems to be. So just something you might want to take a peek at, and maybe just get a paint can and put a couple of stripes in there.
All right, we'll take a look. Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of my comments, gentlemen. Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thanks so much, Heinz. We're going to go to Patty next and then Cheryl.
Happy New Year. And I wanted to know, I can't believe no one has brought up our new neighbors on Casa Buena in this whole discussion. So I wanted to know the update on that. And, it would have been nice if we could have a big picnic and invite them all and do that, but maybe we can have a Zoom picnic and invite them all and welcome them to the neighborhood. And it wouldn't be a new year if I didn't ask about the plans for sidewalk and lighting on Casa Buena. So I wondered when Adam has that on his plan.
I'll fill that one. So yeah, Casa Buena Complete Streets. We've had it listed for summer 2022. That's been in the kind of work plan for a couple of years now, and that should hold, barring major changes budget-wise. But that's where it's listed right now. And then I think there's still some ongoing discussion about lighting. That wasn't included in the original design, and I think there's some conversation that needs to be had about that.
It's crucial. I mean, it is pitch black when you drive down there.
Right, and that also ties into the discussion of the Home Key project there, because we had been talking about if there's an opportunity to get the county to help us, whether it's through I don't know if there are county funds that could work for this, or just having them back us applying for a grant from TAM, from Transportation Authority Marin, to get some lighting and possibly other safety improvements in there. I don't know if any staff on the line are able to speak to that.
Yeah, I'll speak to a little bit, and I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that Mike Moriarty in his other capacity now as communications manager here is also doing a great job of keeping to this point. Obviously we had the holidays, but essentially once every couple of weeks at least, we've been putting a very lengthy and update on the Project Home Key project on the town's newsletter, our Friday newsletter. And so that is a great source for sort of keeping track. We're going to do some more things with regards to that, but essentially just do a 2-minute version of an update. Is we did have a first meeting of this working group back in December, mid-December it was, with the 4 community residents that were selected by the town to participate in that. All their names and information as well, and they would love to hear from residents. We all would, but we've set up a special email for comments. Mike, what is that again? I think it's homekey@tcmmail.org. And okay, yeah, and from that meeting, we set up, we actually divided the working group into so far 4 different sort of subgroups, so to speak, to work on different issues and different items. And for my, the one that I'm going to be involved in, and we actually just had our first subgroup meeting yesterday, is related to exterior site improvements. And also we did talk about incorporating one of our work items related to this grant funding, and exactly what Mayor Beckman just talked about, how to Lorenzo Cordova, who is staff for Rodoni's office, is on that group as well and is in our working group. And so we will be working with him to see how potentially we might attract some more funding for some additional, as you're talking about, lighting for those efforts on Casa Buena as a whole. But we'll also be focused on the site improvements itself. And so that's going to be sort of our track. There's a communications track, really, that is led by our residents. All of these really on our, I will say, on our group, the exterior site improvements, Glenn Barras, who lives right behind you, Patty, on is it Meadow Valley? I forget what the name of the street is right behind you at the moment, but yeah, exactly. So he's on our group, that exterior group. There's communications, there's volunteer opportunities. So something like you just said about how to involve the residents or the future occupants, which, by the way, we're looking at I think we said, Mike, it was like the end of the month. We're looking at the first occupants sort of being housed at the site. And Leela Mongin is really taking a lead on the volunteer opportunities. So there's great opportunities to connect with our resident leaders who are driving a lot of the discussions around this. And then the other metrics, Todd, you're the metric guy with Scott Garland, who was selected as one of our residents, who really great idea of actually making sure that we're monitoring and tracking what success means in sort of objective forms of, and so that's part of what we're going to be looking at as well. Sorry, that was a little bit more than 2 minutes, but it is very important. It's on the top of all of our minds. We're still, we're sort of surrounding it. Myself, Todd, Mike, and even Ruben, who's doing the final inspections of sort of the sprinkler system, fire alarms, and all that's still going on right now at the site. So anyways, just that's the update I got for you. Hopefully that helps, Patty, and anybody.
That's on it too, but it's, and I know Mike Moriarty's been working on this, but like the gift cards and providing, you know, some support, both with, you know, financially with gift cards and other things, gift baskets, making this really a community event when they do move in to this site. You know, we want to welcome them and really make it safely, but a community event the best we can. And so Mike has been taking the lead on that as well, which I really appreciate. So exciting.
That is great. Thank you guys. And thank you, Patty, for bringing both of those up, home key and Casa Buena safety in general. Those are two critical topics. Anything else you want to talk about, Patty?
Not that occurs to me yet, but keep on talking and I'll come up with something.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, then we're going to move on to Cheryl. And Cheryl, you can go ahead. Oh, there we go.
I wanted to follow up on the sidewalk program. I'm wondering, as I recall, there were like 3 components of the program, and I think as RJ mentioned, one of them isn't funded for this year. But as I recall, residents can apply for the other 2 programs. I may have missed it. I may just have just had my head in the clouds or something, but I haven't seen anything in the Corte Madera Chronicles announcing this program. And, you know, it's a great opportunity for residents and a great opportunity for the town to really improve our sidewalks. And it's really important. So if it hasn't been in the Chronicles, it really should get in there, and not just once. You guys know better than I do. You have to pound things in. So just want to promote the program and encourage that it get more publicity.
Yeah, so council approved the program, you know, end of October, and then we spent kind of the preceding month or so getting the website up, drafting the application. So there's a lot of kind of effort and work that went into that, and we were able to complete that and have it up and running by the holidays. We have had about 4 or 5 applicants, so some people are hearing about it, but certainly to your point, it's definitely worthy of more publicity, and let's improve the participation and do what we can. So thanks for the reminder on that one.
Yeah, I worked directly with Lorena in putting together the message for the Corte Madera Chronicles, and we'll certainly get that message out this week and the following weeks. And we're always welcome to consider any new information as we put out communications to our community. And while I have the stage here, I'd love to invite each one of you to invite additional community members to participate in this chat. We frequently hear in public comment that communication channels are suffering, that we don't communicate effectively. And we try to reach out to as many people as we can. We do the Corte Madera Chronicles, we do news flashes, we register for the newsletter. We Nextdoor, Facebook, we have, and recently we went back to the Stone Age of mailing things out. So we're trying to reach out to as many people as we can to engage our community. And, you know, it doesn't help to ask you to request assistance with your circle of friends and anyone you may know. So with that, I turn that back over to you.
I will, Mike, I will certainly ring my bell about that. There's another angle to it too. Oftentimes vegetation infringes on the sidewalk, and it's very often at eye level. And I think people just don't realize that that's a problem, and it would be nice if the town mentioned that too, to have people cut back vegetation that infringes on the sidewalk.
Oh, we do that regularly. That's one of the things that I handle for the town when Public Works get a complaint about vegetation or growth. I communicate directly with the property owner, but point noted that we could do a better job with casting a wider net and reminding community members to take care of the public right of way that they're responsible for. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Cheryl. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about, Cheryl?
Not at this time. Maybe Patty and I will put our heads together.
Perfect. Perfect. We've got like 24 minutes left. Don't have any other hands up right now. Oh, here come a couple. I just want to say real fast though, ditto to what Mike just said regarding asking people in your network, your friends, neighbors, what have you, to attend these chats. Please also let them know about the Corte Madera Chronicles, our weekly newsletter. That is, I think, probably the single most effective way for residents to just kind of glaze through it and really fast kind of get up to speed on what's going on in town. They can just scan. Rebecca puts a fantastic like table of contents at the beginning of each one, so you can just scan the bullet points and see if any of the items are of interest to you. It's, I think, just a really amazing tool that staff has put together for residents to be able to stay informed. So we're going to move on to Lucinda, and then we've got a hand up after that from Corte Madera resident.
Thank you. Sorry I joined you late. I got lost in timing this afternoon. I wanted to follow up on what Cheryl just said with regard to the sidewalks and getting the public right-of-way cleared, because up here on the hill, we need to talk more about making sure that there is ample roadway space, because we don't have sidewalks. So if the brush is hanging over the roadway, it cuts out some of the availability for cars to have access to pass one another, or for leaving area for dog walkers and pedestrians. So if that could be included in your purveying of what needs to be done with regard to sidewalks, and include the roadways where there are no sidewalks, that'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely, Lucinda. That's a huge part of the work that Ruben and his team have been doing, along with many others in town, to look at places where vegetation is really starting to create an evacuation hazard, ingress or egress, in the hillsides. I know that I think we've also been, as part of our climate adaptation planning process, we've been looking at other issues with regards to the roadways up in the WUI, about things like, are there parking spaces cut out of these these hillside roadways that are creating choke points? Is there a way that we need to reconfigure? I think at the most extreme options we're kind of discussing is, are there places where we should widen roadways up there? That would obviously be a huge project to widen one of our little spaghetti roadways up on the hillsides, but that's something that we've been discussing too. I'll let staff jump in if there's anything else that you guys want to add on, but I just wanted to let you know that we totally hear you. That's work that has been underway and is going to continue.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't want to talk over staff. Did anybody want to jump in? No? Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Lucinda. Anything else from you?
No, that's quite, I've got to be quiet because as I say, I was delinquent in being on time today.
Well, we're glad you could make it. Glad you could join us. So thank you. We're going to go next to Corte Madera resident, who's got their hand up.
Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Love the Zooms. You guys are awesome. I want to apologize for my ignorance on my question I'm about to ask. I am a lifelong resident of Corte Madera who happens to live on the water on East Corte Madera. And I got a flyer talking about water access changing in my backyard. And of course, I'm a 2-kid Zoom school household here, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. All I'm asking for is to tell me where to go to find out about what may affect my property after having spent $70,000 to lift my house out of a flood zone.
Sure thing. Yeah, the mailer that you got was about our climate adaptation plan. So again, on the east side, that's looking mainly at how do we protect, Mariner Cove and Marina Village. Sounds like you live in one of those neighborhoods. I do too. How to protect those neighborhoods long term from flooding, from sea level rise. So where you can go to look at the climate adaptation plan, you can go to CorteMaderaAdapts.org. I think that was the URL. Did I get that right? Yeah, okay, CorteMaderaAdapts.org, and you can look at the entire draft climate adaptation plan on there. It's got a table of contents. There's a whole shoreline section, so that's like East Corte Madera. So that's where you would look at kind of the ideas that the climate adaptation plan lays out. Worth noting that all of the kind of strategies laid out in the climate adaptation plan are ideas that are being discussed. They're like potential projects for the future. So they're things, basically what we're doing is we're working with consultants and with the public, with scientists and engineers to lay out this plan and say, here's a menu of ideas that we may need to look at in the future to protect Corte Madera. but it's going to come back to future town councils when they actually, decide to further investigate and pursue any of the projects laid out in this climate adaptation plan. Each of these projects is going to have to go through the public process from the very beginning. So everything that's in there is really conceptual. Still certainly, happy to hear your feedback. You can leave feedback on the climate adaptation plan on the website that I just said. You can also join our February 3rd public workshop at 4:30. The Zoom link is on the town website, but that's an opportunity to get involved as well and learn more. I'm going to turn it over to any staff at this point who want to speak just to the specifics of, a potential flood barrier as it's kind of conceptualized in the climate adaptation plan.
Yeah, happy to jump in. So, it's a planning level document. It's town-wide, so it's pretty wide in breadth. And although we did have some, light engineering and scientific analysis and environmental considerations, it's definitely far less than what you would need for a project level decision. So we want that to be known. This just helps determine whether we want to take the next step, which might be fund further, engineering analysis, further environmental analysis to really better understand what are the options. What would solve this for, is the goal 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years? What is the goal? What do we want to do? And so, I know there's some pretty bold ideas and large costs shown in the cap, but really those are just helping to inform the next step. Should we invest, 6 figures in understanding our options further?
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and on respect to, I think you made a comment about waterway access and I don't know if that pertains to navigational rights. I mean, all that is open for discussion and dialogue.
Okay, I just, the last Zoom I attended, somebody from West Corte Madera suggested that East Corte Madera start thinking about elegantly retreating. And then I got that notice in the mail. I'm like, oh, I need to attend a meeting. So you're telling me nothing is decision process. It's just, hey, we're thinking about this. Okay,
we're thinking about, but we also need, everyone to participate and share their comments, because we have heard comments from both sides of the argument. Some people saying, really, I'm happy with what we have now. I don't think you should do much at all. And then we have other folks saying, yes, please, jump in and help do something to save us from future sea level rise. And so really, we're looking for the community to participate along the way in large numbers.
And I can get my neighbors on board. I just saw that thing and panicked and couldn't get elegant retreat out of my head. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing. Thank you for the meeting today.
Absolutely. And I'll just offer that, like I said, I'm your neighbor in East Corte Madera. I live in Mariner Cove. I'm on Staghound. So if you ever want to just chat with me, we can, go to San Clemente Park or something and just talk social distance. My email is ebeckman@tcmmail.org. So you can shoot me an email whenever, and I'm happy to chat with you further about this.
Great, thank you. And I got to say that we use that waterway every day. I have a canoe, I have a kayak. When I was a kid, I water skied out there. So that's where I'm coming from. But, I thank you. I will probably connect with you.
Great, looking forward to it.
All right,
thank you very much. All right, perfect. We don't have any other hands up right now. If anybody on the line thinks of something, go ahead and throw a hand up. Oh, we've got one from Susie. Let's get Susie on here.
Hi, you needed somebody else to talk. So there were 2 things. One was I was thinking about what Patty was talking about, the lighting over there by her place. And it's been, she's brought, I don't live over there, and I don't go up that hill very often. And I just think that it's been mentioned a couple of times, and I realize it's on the calendar. It sounds to me like it feels like a really priority. So I don't know. I think maybe looking at that really carefully. I mean, if, you want your wife walking up and down there, or your girlfriend or whatever, women have a harder time than men do in dark places at night. So it's just a fact. So please I would just say, take as close a look at that as you can. And you do know that there's chatter going on over here about the adaptation plan. People are worried about it. So any communication that is correct is sure welcome. Everybody needs to know. And that's all. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Susie. Totally hear you on that. I think we're all on the same page that lighting on Casa Buena is now is really kind of the time to start making serious plans for when that's going to happen. I know that was a big part of the discussion with regards to home key, and I think for some of the residents who were initially very strongly opposed to home key and were ultimately able to come around to it, I think it was in part predicated on them understanding that as part of this project happening, we're going to be bringing safety improvements to Casa Buena that and it's not about home key. This neighborhood has I think needed a little love for a long time. So these things are on the way. RJ talked about Casa Buena complete streets. I would be surprised if we're not able to get lighting into that project one way or another. And who knows if we're able to get this TAM grant together, hopefully it'll be able to happen even sooner. I'm not sure. And then with regards to the climate adaptation plan, thanks for bringing that up. We are having some misinformation going around in East Corte Madera. I don't know or particularly care who is saying what, but what matters is that there's emails circulating that are full of some kind of wild claims about the climate adaptation plan. Unfortunate because it's just causing a lot of unnecessary stress and headache for residents who can get a misleading email and get all freaked out about some wild claims about the climate adaptation plan. And in reality, we're trying to put all the information out there for everybody. I think good rule of thumb is if you hear something and it sounds crazy, it probably is. The climate adaptation plan itself is right on on that website, cortemaderaadapts.org. Anyone can go on there and read it for themselves. And then leave feedback. Please reach out to me, your other elected officials, your town staff. We're all happy to hear your feedback. Please participate in the upcoming public workshops that I've mentioned. I think it's really important that we just kind of move forward with this. It's a tough discussion, but we got to move forward with it in a rational and logical way. We definitely want to hear everybody's voices, but it's important that when we have these discussions, they're grounded in fact and in what we're actually discussing in the climate adaptation plan. So it's certainly not the runaway train that I think some folks have unfortunately gotten the misconception that it is. I don't know if anybody else wanted to speak to anything yet. Todd?
Yeah, boss, I really appreciate how you break stuff down and send the message, because we've had such a symbiotic relationship with staff and the council. We've all kind of learned together over the past few years. And I've talked about this a few times. I know you have. We are susceptible to so many things in this town, and we've dealt with fiscal hardship in the 2000s, devastated our town, for a period of time, and brought us criticism, rightfully so. And then we're susceptible to this adaptation, the climate adaptation that we're talking about now. And when I came on in 2016 and really started working closely with the council, in our relationship as we've gone over the years, and you've been at the tip of that spear, Mr. Mayor, has been, let's bring in, and allowed me to bring in a team, to really go attack this thing and build a plan, because we keep talking about 10, 20, 30 years. Well, what does that look like? Those are just words. And so it's like, let's bring in the right people to set us up for success and to go attack this thing. And so when you listen to the staff on these community chats, I get goosebumps, because this is what it's about. You bring in the team of, when you look at what, Mike's doing, Chief Martin, Rebecca, RJ, Adam, Ashley, it's amazing what they're doing. We have the right team. And so then it's like, let's get the process in place. Let's learn from the past and have the right process. And the climate adaptation plan is sobering. I lose sleep over that thing when I read it and go, what are the solutions? And, some of the solutions are scary. We don't like what they mean, but also there's solutions that we can wrap our head around. There is a way to make this happen quickly and financially. There's a path, and that's the most important thing, but we have to do this together. And so, that's key. And so I'm just can I share something with you, because it always comes back to money, and it comes back to a plan. And with the help of the mayor and the council and Mike Moriarty to tell this story, it first starts here, folks. So it starts with, where are we? Like, how are we financially? What do we have in the bank? And so we just went through the worst fiscal impact that we've ever sustained is COVID-19. The closest thing to it was 2012, where staff and council over the last 9 years really focused on lessons learned. In 2012, for perspective, we had, in our general fund, we had negative $400,000 in there. We had a deficit. We had zero monies in any reserves. We had no reserve funds. We had $4 million in the sanitary district. And as a matter of fact, we borrowed from the sanitary district on an annual basis to make payroll in November. And we got charged an interest rate back to it going further in debt. Go fast forward now. With council support, best practices, the number one thing, let's be fiscally solvent, let's be fiscally prudent, and let's have a plan. And right now we have $30.4 million in the bank. And I'm not here to say, hey, we're great. This is the work we position ourselves to have this conversation about the cap in the future. We had to first set the stage. And what we did, as you'll see, the general fund currently has 2.7 million. We have and really the recommendation moving forward is to really raise this restricted reserve to 20%. And that's probably what we're going to recommend to council moving forward. We also have an emergency reserve fund of 2.5 million. You can go down the list and see what we have. And so again, that's $30 million. And now the question is, we need to have a long-term plan of how we deal with capital improvement projects. So can everybody see this document right here? Okay, so this is a living document. It's a draft. And so this is going to go to council at the next meeting, but everything we do moving forward, we're looking out 15 years. And we're going to say, let's have a plan, let's have a revenue stream, and let's tell the story. And every time our community, our staff, and our council have a conversation about fiscal impacts, kind of like the unfunded liabilities of pensions. If you give a 3% raise to Todd Cusimano, how does that impact us 15 years from now with their unfunded liability? Same thing here. If we're going to do the Complete Streets Casa Buena project, can we do it sooner? Do we have the revenue and the staff to do it? And so this is the revenue stream. And then what we'll do is an overlay of the plan of how it impacts. And so right now, today, this is a, go over here. This is our 15-year revenue streams. It's $153 million dedicated solely to infrastructure, the adaptation, streets, sidewalks, sanitary district, everything we're talking about on this call. This is the funding stream that we shared with the community 2 years ago when we did the sales tax measure right here of saying, look, we're going to take back that flood tax. And we're going to develop a long-term tax until the taxpayers don't agree and take it back, right? And so this is basically an engine that'll make us go moving forward to do these projects. And so when you talk about a $16 million project, a $44 million project, I want you to know that how I challenge my team, get grants, find opportunities, find all the funds we can, because I do not want to ask our community for $1 to do these projects. They're already paying, and I want to share this in a way with people that enjoy our community, our shopping centers. It should be a shared cost. So right now, we have $16 million in the bank for these capital improvement projects. And as we move forward and you start to see we talk about these things in council meetings, I want the community to start thinking about there's a 15-year plan, and then there's another 15-year plan after that, right? And so this is the fiscally and what we're doing with the adaptation work. It's not easy, and if it was easy, someone would have done it before us. But that's the message. That is what council has asked staff to do. This is going to be our legacy. We're going to set the stage of funding and a decision-making matrix for future leaders to problem solve this issue. As it relates to Mariner Cove and the potential of a sea level wall or something similar, we need to start thinking about something in the next 10 years or we're going to lose households. And so we need to think about that. And so there is an exigency in some of these discussions, but also we think we have a plan to really start and to discuss this. And so for me, this is the document that we live by, and we're excited to share it, and we're excited to move forward and really attack this thing. And I want to say something else that's important, because if you remember, Ruben and the team on the fire side, we passed that Measure C. And that was for fire mitigation and vegetation management and all kinds of good work. On that sheet that I just showed you, there's 800,000 dedicated annually just to that fire mitigation. There's also probably about $1 million every few years that actually go to larger projects to the town of Corte Madera to make us safer. When you think about when this conversation was had, there's 50% of our community in the flood zone. There's 50% of our community in the fire zone, right, in the WUI. And so when this passed, every resident in Corte Madera pays that tax. They pay that tax. even the ones that are outside the fire zone, because it's our community. It's the right thing to do. And so what I challenge all of us when we move forward and we have these discussions of going, is there a fairness between the hill and the flats? It's a fair conversation, but step back a second and see what the big issue is, because if we lose 50% of our community either on the hillside or on the flats, we don't have a community. And so we are going to work hard as staff to show fairness. And really, I think one of the documents that'll help is this 15-year document to show, look, here's how much we project to spend annually and in the next 15 years. And you can follow that. We're held accountable to that through, oversight committees. And so, I'm sorry to go off on a tangent. I hope I'm not, but I think that's important for us to really, instead of talking at each other, just focusing on one neighborhood, like step back and go, first of all, why are you doing this, town? And what are you trying to do? And if you understand that, then I think we can really engage and do the work that, RJ and Adam and the team and the mayor have been trying to do. We're trying to engage. And there's some scary alternatives in there, no doubt about it. But like our goal is to make sure that your property values continue to go up. Hopefully someday you don't have to have fire or flood insurance. And you live in a great, amazing town and neighborhood. And so that's what we're challenged with, unfortunately, and it's going to get tough. We're going to have some hard conversations. And I just hope that all of you on this call are there with us to get through that and to work through it, because it's important work and we need to do it now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Todd, for bringing that up. That was really helpful. And seeing the kind of funding picture laid out like that is really helpful. You and the staff have been great. I also wanted to just thank you for bringing up the fact that, I think we really need to move past, there's been, I think, historically in town, this kind of mindset of like, there's East Corte Madera and West Corte Madera. And to your staff and to your town council, there is only Corte Madera. And frankly, that's how we should all feel, because, none of us are immune from problems elsewhere in town. If you live on the hillside and the lowlands flood, 101 is going to be flooded. You can't get to the grocery store. You can't get in and out of town. That's not okay. If you live in, on the Bayside, like for example, where I live, if the hillside, say Ring Mountain, goes up in flames, that fire is going to jump Paradise Drive. It's not, we're not immune. So these problems are really, I think, shared by all of us, and it's important to keep that in mind as we move forward. We've got two last hands up here. Patty and Lucinda both have their hands up again. We've got 2 minutes, so we'll just move that. Oh, Patty put her hand down. We'll come back to Lucinda and then we'll wrap up here. And Patty's back up. Okay, so Lucinda first.
Very quick question. I know that we were, as a town, expecting some refund from the state for the firefighting that we needed to get reimbursed for during those awful fires. Did we ever get that?
I can answer that. Yeah, so that's slowly trickling in. What we do is after every incident, we gather all of our financial documents, receipts, and everything, and submit it to the state, and then they slowly process it and bring it back to us. So all that money will be coming back to us.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lucinda. And last comment will be from Patty.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Dan Schuster and the Lions Club for faithfully providing hundreds of safely protected masks at the skate park and at the tennis court fence. So they've just been wonderful in carrying forward what Age Friendly Corte Madera started. And I'm very, very, very grateful.
Thank you, Patty. I second that, and I also want to point out to everyone that you, Patty, and Age Friendly were really instrumental in pushing for this to happen in the first place. So thank you so much for helping bring what we saw going on elsewhere to Corte Madera. I think residents have really benefited from it, as we see by the fact that these masks are getting taken and used. So thank you so much for your contributions.
Thank you.
And my pleasure. And with that, we're at 5 o'clock, so we're going to wrap up here, folks. Like Adam said, we've got a planning commission study session tonight on the hotel renovation. We've got a town council meeting a week from today at 6:30. And then we have those 2 climate adaptation plan workshops, February 3rd and 4th. And the information for all of that is on the town's website. Thank you guys, everybody, for joining us. I hope you guys all had a fantastic holiday season. Happy New Year. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, team. Thanks, everyone.